So Hereditary and Midsommar were two of the fucking worst, absolute worst, in my opinion, horror movies that have came out in the past couple years. To be honest, these movies got so much hype. I just never understood why. I mean, they weren't scary. They weren't horror. I mean, I guess they were barely in the horror genre, but they weren't at all as scary as since The Exorcist. I mean, there's been so many fucking movies recently that have that title, scariest thing since The Exorcist. So this is nothing fucking new, but let's just go ahead and get into this. So again, Hereditary was directed by Ari Aster. And, Ari asshole, because fucking I just don't like his movies. But it stars Toni Collette as Annie Graham, the mom. You have Millie Shapiro as Charlie, the girl with some deficiencies, and Peter Wolf, who is the son, their son. Everyone else in the family, it doesn't really matter, but, looking into it more, this fool did say that this movie was not a horror film, which was what upset me more, because it's like, all right, if this isn't a horror film, why are you marketing it as one? It's supposed to be a family tragedy. But it's like, well, fuck yeah, of course it is. If you have anyone die in your family or any bad thing happen in your family, it's an automatic family tragedy. Like, what the fuck do you have to, like, call it that for? You know what I mean? Like, if people are already saying, even the production company or whatever is saying that this is like a horror film, you might as well just say it's a horror film instead of just trying to go around that and say, no, it's not actually a horror film, right? It's a movie about family. Like, shut the fuck up. Get out of here, okay? But anyway, so this movie kicks off right when their grandmother passes, which is pretty much, the whole bulk of the movie, which is, so their grandma passes and they're wondering, they're going through like their grieving period, right? And then you find out that the grandma's got some, pretty high friends and I guess you would say low places. And, the mom, Toni Collette, ends up kind of figuring all that out. She just goes through the motions of kind of realizing her mom was in some shady shit. And then this whole time she like makes miniatures, right? So she's like foreshadowing shit throughout the whole movie in miniature form. So that was just fucking ridiculous. And it's supposed to be scary, but it's not. It's just kind of like, yeah, yep, that's a miniature of a scene that will probably happen soon, or a scene that just happened, but it's implied that it's just so fucking terrifying. But so, like I said, the grandma dies and they're just dealing with the grief and everything. And then, friends start reaching out and trying to help the family and stuff. And like, they all turn out to be fucking cult members and shit, right? It's just like, it's not supposed to be scary. Like, there's no like blood. Well, I mean, the blood and stuff comes later, but there's the horror aspect is supposed to be like the realism. It's supposed to be that like your neighbor could be trying to conjuring up demons. But I don't understand how that could be a scare. We've done movies like that already, but it's like that. I'm fucking sick and tired of these possession and demon, God and good and evil movies because it's like, or angel and demon movies because it's always the demons and it's always supposed to be based on true events and shit like The Conjuring. And until shit like that actually starts happening, where we're constantly seeing, things happen where we're like, oh man, I can actually attest to demons being around. Like, there's no reason to keep making movies like this, I feel. Just fucking stop. Midsommar, come on. Like, again, a cult that unless you're there, it will not affect you. But I guess they're there. They live out in Sweden or fucking Finland, all these random ass places throughout the world, So anyway, the movie goes without saying that pretty much they had resurrected this demon Payman, right? And they had resurrected him through the daughter, Charlie. So that's why she's always a little off. She's just fucking got a demon in her this whole time. It's like, oh, who'd have thought, So while she's being possessed, now that the grandma's dead, right? She's been possessed this whole time. She is kind of like, starting doing shit that's all weird, cutting birds' heads off and just kind of, not doing things that kids would do, So, of course, the son is trying to just like live his life and just like hang out with friends and smoke weed. So he's trying to go to this party, right? And the mom's like, oh, bring your sister. So he's like, all right, brings the sister. Fucking the sister has like a nut allergy. He goes, oh, go ahead and hang out at this high school party. It's not like you've never been to one before. So she's hanging out at the party while he's smoking weed and drinking with his buds. And she eats this cake that has nuts in it, of course. And her allergies go off and she starts having an allergy attack. And he has to take her home and he's all high and freaking out. And wouldn't you know it, he hits a pole and he fucking beheads his sister. Holy shit. The scene is so ridiculous that it's just like, man, that's what happened. His sister lost her head. You know. And of course, like I said, the mom makes miniatures, so she makes a fucking miniature of the head. You're just like, really? Like, I guess you saw this coming and you are no way. The daughter's dead, right? So now she's like haunting the family and everything because, you know, she was obviously wrongly murdered. And the son starts having these like visions of her and shit and these like hallucinations, and he starts going crazy. So the demon, like I said, was supposed to be in the daughter, right? Now it's supposed to be like out of the daughter, and it can go into the mom or the son, whoever's most vulnerable. Of course, they're both fucking vulnerable. I won't even get into the husband because the husband, he pretty much gets set on fire. So there's nothing really to talk about with the husband. Like, it's scary. Believe me, he gets set on fire from the feet up. It's terrifying. Not really. I mean, the fucker gets just charred up, you know? It's pretty like, yep, there you go. And then she's just freaking out about it. But, you know, so both of them pretty much get possessed, the mom and the son. Granted, the end scenes are pretty cool, like with the mom hiding in the corner and shit, and like her chasing him around the house. But it's still like a very like slow-paced scene, like when he goes down the stairs and everything, and like when he finally does see her, and like when it's just so slow, you know, and then she's like banging her head against the wall. It's just like, all right, we get it, you know, it's supposed to be scary at this fucking point. And then the mom, she cuts her head off because she floats. The son's like trying to run away in the attic, and like she ends up getting into the attic somehow and like cuts her head off. So, and then he freaks out and he jumps out a fucking window, and he just falls and dies. And the spirit like was in his mom, I guess, because his mom did snap. You know, she lost her mom, she lost her daughter, and her son like killed her daughter. You know, so she kind of like fucking lost it. So she obviously was possessed at the end of the movie. And then when she fucking cut her own head off, the demon left her body and decided to go into the son and was like, "What's up?" You know, and it like taunts the son throughout the whole movie. So it's just funny that it just didn't take over the son and have the son like brutally murder the family. That would have at least made it at least a horror film. You know, if he would have been possessed and just went on a killing spree and murdered the dad, murdered the mom, and then, you know, just went and used their bodies for the ritual. Like, that would have at least been legit. But I guess it would have probably taken too long and played out too. I guess it would have played out too much, even, you know, having to bring the bodies up. But fuck, they all floated. They have this treehouse, and they all pretty much float up to the treehouse at the end. And that, well, the son is all possessed, so he goes into the treehouse, and the mom's body is there, the grandma's body is there. Most of the people throughout the movie who actually turn out to be cult members, not just random people doing expositive things because they're just standing and yelling and shit. Those people like end up being cult members. It's like, oh, of course they are. Who'd have thought? They're not just hallucinations. They're real people. Just like fucking Midsommar. Everything was done with real people, but they had little hallucination drugs to make you just feel bad for them. I'd be like, oh, look, they're drugged. They would never make these decisions otherwise. Fucking dumb, man. Fucking dumb. I mean, plus Midsommar was supposed to be based off of a love story. It wasn't even supposed to be a horror story. Man, I just don't like this director's movies, you know. So, you know, again, it's just supposed to be based on realism. So demons exist. All this shit exists. It could happen to you. So watch out.